Hey everyone, and welcome back to another King Arthur Legends Rise video. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over Gilroy. Spoiler alert, I don't think he's very good. We'll touch on why, but if you're just wondering if you should summon for him, I really don't think you should. I think he's kind of outclassed as a niche hero by Rare, and his support functions, albeit can be solid, I just don't think he's worth these special tickets, and you should probably hold off for someone else. But regardless, I do want to say, first of all, thank you so much for the support on this channel. I just sent out my first supporter codes. So if you've been a supporter, go to the Netmarble website where you clicked the support button for me, and you should have some codes available there for some free stamina. So thank you so much for that. And for anyone who has supported me, I just really, really appreciate it, guys. It's been great. All of the views, all of the just support on that channel has been fantastic. So thank you so much. All right, Gilroy. New hero. He looks cool. I'd say that. He's real cool looking. But other than that, I just I don't think he's really good. He does have one or two benefits. And also I have some theory on where he could be used, but we'll touch on that whenever we're going through this. So his first passive says when using a skill, he has a 100% chance to grant each Bull's Favor ally attack increase 2 for 2 turns. And because he's Chivalry 1 for me, he has the ability to inflict effect resistance decrease on each enemy for 2 turns. This is good in Bull's Favor dungeons. It's probably pretty decent for high-end arena. It might be useful for the clan versus clan that's coming up at the end of January. So that's one thing to mention. He does have some pretty good targets for that attack increase. That's the same favor as Arthur, and I think Arthur is a great damage dealer when it comes to fighting frost enemies because of this third skill with his Storm Relic. It's really, really good. But Accolon's in here as well. Gawain can be a decent damage dealer if he's fully leveled up. So yeah, this first passive actually does have some decent targets. His second passive says when attempting to inflict recovery disruption, you have a 100% chance to charge Vigor by 1, and you can actually scale this up to charge your Vigor by 2, and the cooldown can be reduced to 4 turns. It's weird because he's an attack-centric hero, but I think he's just better as a support hero because of, this type of ability. Charging Vigor is really, really strong. If he's wearing a Vigor set, he could potentially charge your Vigor up to 3 when this is off cooldown, which is kind of nice because on his first skill, on his baseline relic, you have recovery disruption chance on there. So you can just use his skill 1 with a Vigor set that's 2 Vigor, and then whenever this is off cooldown, you're charging your Vigor by a 3rd turn, which is really cool. I think that's kind of where his utility comes in, but this is a pretty solid passive. And then the thing that makes him unique is this healing decay debuff that he can put up for 1 turn. You can skill it up to 2 turns and then have the cooldown reduced to 2 turns, but this is only 2 uses. Now you can increase the uses of this by 2 additional, so up to 4 total, but he will need to be Chivalry 3 for that. And talking about his chivalries, this is the one, his Chivalry 1, where you put up the effect resistance decrease. The second one, he just gets effect resistance, which is odd, but whatever. And then his third chivalry is doubling the number of skill uses for that third passive that we just talked about. And then also, he doesn't need any kind of effect accuracy to land the healing decay. What that healing decay does is it restores the target's HP, whoever has it, but then also takes a set amount of damage in return, and it's considered recovery disruption. So the way that reads is they'll just take damage because it's a recovery disruption debuff. They won't be healed, so none of the HP will be restored. when I've looked at the damage that Healing Decay does, it just seems so minimal that it doesn't really matter. I was hoping this would be like a big percentage hit on Aldry in Frozen Plains, because that's where Recovery Disruption is used and basically the only place. But it just didn't seem to matter. So that's why he's odd. But let's finish up the chivalries here. So the Merciless Sadist, he can reduce the skill cooldown by 2 turns. So that's this one, which is pretty nice. This is where, just the utility comes in. So you can get that down to a 2-turn cooldown where you're possibly recharging Vigor by 3 each turn, which is cool. That is cool. And then his Chivalry 8 is 100% chance to grant each ally this acidic humors, where if somebody has Recovery Disruption, they get an additional attack damage of 50% of their attack. Now, I've seen another content creator named Loki Magics. I don't know if you guys watch him. Big whale. He usually Chivalry 10s people, but I think he makes really great content. But he was showing how what this can do is like add an additional 3,000 attack to a hero like Bedivere or something like that. So it's certainly not worth it. And he really dislikes this hero as well. But anyway, yeah, like his Chivalry 3 is nice, and so is his Chivalry 4, just to really maximize the Vigor charge. But I think that's where his utility ends. So let's talk about his relics real quick, and then I'll talk about some comparisons and really the only place that I could see him being played. So his baseline Frost Relic is what he's summoned with, and sadly, I think this is his worst one, but it is what it is. So skill 1 is a 3-hitter, and he has a 50% chance for the last hit to inflict Recovery Disruption. Just a one-time chance at 50%. This is not very good. Especially for a debuff that is so important in Frozen Plain, to base it on a 50% chance is going to be pretty rough. However, I guess the positive is with all of his passive abilities, the skill 1, because it has Recovery Disruption on it, even if it's a lower percentage, still triggers his passive abilities. So that is a plus. His skill 2 is actually pretty unique. He sacrifices 20% of his max HP and then gives himself effect accuracy increase 3 and attack speed increase 2, and then just generating an additional turn. And then on top of that, he increases the Recovery Disruption durations on the enemy by a turn. So you tick that up. You can skill this down to 15% max HP per use, and then increase the turns for effect accuracy and attack speed. So this is a good skill too, as well. If you wanted to use him as your main Recovery Disruption hero, you don't really have to build him with effect accuracy, because he just gets such a huge boost from that ability. It is for 1 turn, but what you'll eventually be able to do is just use this, tick up the Recovery Disruption, then use like a skill 1 or something like that, get him healed back up again, and if you need to increase the Recovery Disruption again, you can then loop back around to this, put up his effect accuracy, increase the duration, and so on and so forth. But I still just don't think that's where his utility comes in. I think it's basically wearing a Vigor set, using his skill 1, and then charging your Vigor by +1 every 2 turns if you have the opportunity to do it. And that's it. So that's that. His 3rd skill is attacks all enemies 2 times, 98% multiplier, and if the target has Recovery Disruption, it deals an additional 50%. And then you also have a small chance to inflict Recovery Disruption for a turn. Like, this is such a low multiplier, which is odd. This is what I'm going back to. He's an attack-centric hero. His highest damage ability is 98% attack. He gives himself an attack boost on his passive, and then he gives himself attack speed or whatever. But the multipliers are just way too low to make use of anything, and he doesn't have any damage on his skill 2 on his Frost Relic, which is why I think it's his worst relic. So in comparison to someone like Accolon, right? Accolon is the other recovery disruption hero. He has an amazing passive where if the target has defense decrease, he has a 100% chance to inflict recovery disruption for 2 turns. Like, you don't have to build him with any effect accuracy. Most of the time, you're running Morgan in Aldry just because she puts up the best damage amplifying abilities in defense decrease and damage increase. So pairing Accolon with Morgan, you're already getting the recovery disruption at 100%, where with Gilroy, the percentages are just so low on his skill 1 and on his skill 3. The second skill, even though it's good, doesn't inflict recovery disruption. It just ticks it up. So from a recovery disruption perspective, he's just not good. Like in comparison to Accolon. So yeah, it's just weird. His Storm Relic, which is, maybe his best relic. I don't know. The Fire one's pretty good too. But the Storm is a positive element to Aldry, and it has a very strong multiplier on the 3rd skill. And you also have a much higher chance to inflict recovery disruption. Like, this is a hard-hitting ability. This is good, but he's not summoned with it, so it kind of stinks. And then also his skill 2 abilities, even though his attack gauge charge is less, he gives himself crit rate increase 3, which makes him much easier to build. And he also has a do not resist on the recovery disruption. So if you have his Chivalry 3, you can put that healing decay up, ignoring resistance, use his skill 2, increase his crit rate, increase the duration of that healing decay because it's considered recovery disruption, and then you smack with this ability. Now, this, I think, has some potential, but who knows when you'll be able to get that. You also have a higher percentage chance for the last hit to inflict the recovery disruption. This one's the same percent chance on the Fire. This is like a damage dealing ability, which is cool. And then the multipliers here are also good with a less chance to inflict the recovery disruption. So I actually like the Storm Relic the best. You can use recovery disruption in the keepsake dungeons. However, because the attack gauge reduction is a thing in this dungeon, you just ignore all of the mechanics of this boss. So the only place I would use him is in Aldry, but I think unless you have his Storm Relic, he's not going to be that great. So where can you use him, right? That's the question, because I've just said basically everything bad about him and that he's useless. In the favor dungeons is great, for sure. Granting the attack increase and then inflicting the effect resistance for free, I think is really great. I also think that he's going to be part of speedrun teams with Arthur. So him being able to go first and charge up to possibly 3 Vigor per turn, if you get his passive reduced with a Chivalry 4, Arthur has an amazing smacking ability with his Storm Relic for Frost heroes. So he just does like crazy outputs. He also gives himself the critical strike rate and critical strike damage. So Gilroy then adds the additional attack increase. So he brings that while having the recovery disruption. And you just pair that with Morgan and maybe another damage dealer, or you use somebody like Turin to increase your attack speed or whatever, or just charge your Vigor. And I think that's his use. Right now, I just don't see any other use for him. I just don't think he's great. I'm not really going to showcase him in any teams or anything. I just want to talk about him, get a video out to you guys, and just say thank you for the support. But that's all I got for Gilroy. Sadly, it's not good, but on the plus side, you get to save your summons. So that's all I got, guys. I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.